down the row, your majors.
Veterinary science,
Okay.
Agribusiness economics.
environmental science,
Biosystems engineering. We're in Chance. Where are you guys mainly? Our hub is Chance. What's your hub?
Chance is Laurel Hall.
Or Chavez. Yeah.
Veterinary science and microbiology.
Yeah, so you guys are all over. So two questions, drawing more on your experience as students as opposed to insights from that survey. How do we, in general in CALS, get students more aware of Forbes as the hub? If we want it to be the hub, all right? And two, when should we do this grand opening event? I mean, what kind of an event should it be? Is it a lunch thing? Is it an afternoon, evening thing? What do you think?
So we had kind of thought of that as an afternoon event, kind of like a 12 to 3 sort of event. It's where a lot of students have breaks between classes, so they'll be able to go to Forbes. I know for me as a student, I've never had a class in Forbes, so I don't associate Forbes necessarily with the SWES department. So I would suggest maybe having introduction courses for students in CALS, for all students in CALS in Forbes, so that they can really, I had my first CALS class in the Forbes building. That's where CALS is located.
And another thing I'm glad that you mentioned the grand opening event is because that was going to be almost killing two birds with one stone, not only to promote the Career Center, but we know that the Career Center, along with a lot of admin within CALS, want to promote Forbes as that hub. And as you just clearly pointed out, there's a lot of students all over the place. So having a grand opening event very clearly for CALS, especially with freshman, sophomore, and having it at the start of the fall semester, could really hammer in that point that this is going to be the hub. Though throughout your 4 years, 5 years here, you're going to be at different buildings. This is going to be the hub for the college as a whole. And that recommendation to have classes there is a really great one, because I've had one class personally, and it was for an English course, and I'm not sure if my teammates have had other classes there.
How many classrooms are in Forbes?
Very few.
And there's
Not too
small.
many.
One or two.
One maybe, at least in the second floor, where
There's
the
one on the
main level,
second
there's
floor.
one.
There's a
Maybe,
Swiss lab in the bottom, in the basement.
Yeah.
And then there's entomology has a classroom on the third floor.
So having
talking to.
like a kickoff for CALS, of course funds are very limited, so trying to tie in a CALS welcome event. I know that we've been being part of the DL50, we've been very fortunate to get a more closer inside look of CALS, specifically because of this great organization. While I know many of my classmates don't, engineering is a little bit weird too though. We're very much engineering, very much CALS. So having a kickoff event.
We were thinking more of just like snacky foods,
Yep.
not necessarily a lunch or anything, just snacks, foods, and
Kind of an open house.
Yeah.
basically, and have Dr. Yu and Dr. Medgerly and whoever can really make it, so that they can be there to talk with students,
Sure.
maybe the advisors as well.
As a follow-up, all right, so I'm clearly dating myself, but you guys seem to deal with each other much more through social media
Yeah.
as opposed to physical gathering places, all right?
Yeah.
But does it make sense to try and if it can't be classes because of the classroom limitations, does it make sense to use the Career Center for events periodically through the academic year of some sort? Would students go? What kind of events would they go to? I mean, give us your feedback on that.
And how would you advertise it as well?
Yeah.
So one thing.
I was going to say, that goes along with the networking events. I would say any event that's really related to either CALS or the Career Center, but having it as a hub at Forbes rather than like on the mall or anywhere else would draw students to the Forbes building and kind of make them start associating it with CALS. But I know a lot of college students, as long as there's some sort of food there and you
Yes.
put that in the advertisement, they will come.
And it's free.
Definitely.
Yes.
And we could initially include the advertisement or the news release about the grand opening event in email, but then we could have reminders be sent out on social media where students are more likely to be reminded of it, the night before the event.
and post a photo or something like that. To
Photo on
get them
Facebook
interested.
or Instagram, maybe a picture of like the goodies or something.
Yeah, that'd
Come
be-
on over to the board.
That'd be a good idea for the advertising and reaching out to the students that maybe aren't checking their emails or something like that.
And one thing also too, I think if we were talking, had this presentation 4 years ago, from saying that we should remodel Forbes would have been, you know, okay, please, thank you, bye for your recommendation, I'm not gonna take it. But now that we've already overcome that hurdle, we've remodeled it, it's gonna be state of the art. I know personally, I like to study at optics, it's a very nice, new building, very clean, and so having that beautiful renovated lobby will just be already one of like icing on the cake for that.
And Forbes is, I think it's in a really good location. It's right next to Old Main. It's kind of
Sure.
center of the campus,
Yeah.
and like Maya said, having it renovated and redone, I think it'll bring more. You'll see more students come in.
This is a tough question. Most of what you see on there in that survey is provided for by the U of A Career Services Center. What makes it different in the Forbes building, in your mind?
The CALS Career Center, what makes it different?
I would say particularly a lot of, for instance, the networking events are really tailored to agriculture majors. And so, for instance, having representatives from companies that students graduating from our majors would actually want to work at would be a benefit, rather than if they were to go to the U of A Career Center, they're going to get kind of a more general, broad major employment opportunity. So at the career fair that the U of A Career Center puts on, it's companies like Diller's and Macy's. And although there is a retailing and consumer sciences major in our program, there's less of an influence from agriculture companies and life science companies. So here we would have not only Diller's and Macy's, but we might also have representatives from John Deere.
I think it's also important to have it specifically in the Forbes building because it is difficult and intimidating sometimes to use the Student Union Career Center.
Yeah, it's so
It's
big.
not as personal as it would be working with the people in the Career Center in CALS, because a lot of them are advisors or you've run into them before, so it's a little more familiar. It's not just someone that doesn't know you and you don't necessarily know them that's looking over your resume and giving you that coaching. It's a lot more personal, and I think that makes students a lot more comfortable, and it also, I think it would give them better feedback and really coach them through specifically what they're going through in CALS.
And having a smaller section that's far more specific to us, I know when I'm going through job searches, etc., I always have follow-up questions, and it is so daunting, intimidating to have to schedule a whole other appointment with somebody at the UA Career Center. And not to say that it's not a valuable resource, though it absolutely is. Knowing that I can just stop in, you know, earlier today I had a really quick question for Kyle. His door's open, right there, in and out in 2 seconds, and that's something you really can't get.
Another good point is the Career Center on at the Student Union is often swamped with students. You know, if you want to schedule a mock interview, you got to schedule it a month ahead because, and a lot of times students may not get the one-on-one attention that they need necessarily. I mean, they may have someone sit down with them to do a resume review, but they may just say, okay, it's fine. I've heard students say that, oh, she didn't mark anything on it. She said it was perfect.
Yeah.
So there's kind of mixed feedback, and because it's so swamped with the entire college, I think it's great that CALS will have its own career center.
Yes.
Do any of you currently obtain services from Career Services and have paid that fee that they have?
I paid the fee and I've used Wildcat JobLink to apply for positions here in the college, but I have only gone into the actual building during Tom Wilson's class when we went in and had the talk about how to use the resources that they serve there.
For myself, being in the Dean's Leadership 50 really gave me the opportunity to get my resume looked at very closely. And I have to admit, if I wasn't in the DL50, probably would have just looked at it, cut my losses.